for the goodwill message from the marine engineers. And whilst he's coming, I want to recognize the Honorary Consul of Finland in Nigeria, Dr. Kingsley Akinroye. You are welcome.
Standing on existing protocols, my name is Philip Ola Atitebi. At this particular situation, I'm wearing two caps. I am a member of the committee for the Seafarers, MTS Nigeria. But on this underground, I'm actually standing on behalf of the Association of Master Mariners and Engineers and Surveyors. When we came to become seafarers in the 1970s, quite a lot of us were excited, and we were quite glad because the advert in the papers then was, "The sky is the limit for young and ambitious Nigerians who want to make it." Today, it has been a bit down in the industry. As our ladies have pointed out, our Lord Speaker, Mrs. Margaret Orakusi, pointed out that there is still opportunity in the industry. And there is still opportunity. Even the SGS to Ondo State has pointed out to us that deep water is about to open. And therefore, there is still opportunity for the maritime industry in Nigeria. And therefore, with that, MTS, Seafarers in Nigeria, are still looking for your support to get us to play the rightful role. Yes, for 40 years, the place has been run down. But the hope and the kindle has come. Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation has assured us, and the industry is also gearing to go. Please, let us see the mission to seafarers brought to the life of what it was. It was a place where the seafarers from all over the world do come, and actually, they were able to see home from home. And this is our target. This is our hope. A few months ago, we had an incident where a foreign seafarer was involved in some incident in Cocoa. Our representatives were prompt to get involved and talk with the embassy. And also between us and the embassy, we were able to syndicate and get more to the families and to the authorities. These are the roles we are cast for, and these are the roles we hope to lead for in future. We will crave your support, and as Association of Master Mariners and Surveyors, we will support the mission to seafarers. We will give our added support, both human, resource, and support to all aspirations of the ship owners, aspirations of Lagos State Transportation, aspirations of the Ondo State government, in form of support to the merchant transport. This is our pledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to welcome and recognize all the way from, I sometimes don't know where he lives these days, either he's in Port Harcourt or in Benin, but he shuttles between both, do I say, one of the most successful seafarers, and of course also one of the most successful ship owners in Nigeria today. He is the former president, pioneer president of the Ship Owners Association of Nigeria, SOAN. He's a ship owner, very active ship owner with several vessels in his fleet, the chairman of Stars Investment Group. Please welcome Engineer Greg Ogbeifun. Please put your hands together for him, Engineer Greg Ogbeifun. He's an employer of seafarers, many of them in his employment. Okay, Chief said, and this is another of the chairman, he just signaled to me that I must invite you to say a few things in terms of goodwill. Please welcome Engineer Greg Ogbeifun for his goodwill message.
I'll crave your indulgence to adopt all existing protocols. I have to apologize that I came in a bit late. The usual flight disruptions. It is really a thing of joy for me to see this event happening. Because when I hear about the Seamen's mission, it gives me a lot of nostalgia because it brings back memories of the days some 40, 45 years ago when we were seamen tramping around the world. The Seamen's mission was always a mission that every seafarer looked forward to. As soon as they arrive a foreign port and they get off the ship. The mission was a home for seafarers, a home away from home, usually run by some missionaries or clergy. So it was a place for spiritual succor if you have spent several weeks or months away from home in the middle of ocean with all the challenges associated with our peculiar profession. So the minister or the clergy in charge of the mission was always there to give you comforting words, to pray with you, to share with you. And don't forget that in those days, we never used to have satellite communication, and it meant for months you may not be able to communicate with family and friends because you are far away. So they closed that gap. In addition, the mission was always a place you got comfort in understanding the peculiarity of the foreign country you are in. You were well briefed about the environment. You were guided about the exchange rates for your currency. You were directed to the day and night life where you will be safe. And the mission always provided logistics to convey seafarers from the quay as soon as they get off the ship to wherever they wanted to go and shop. So when in 1983 I finally came back to Nigeria to take up a shore job, courtesy of a foreign employer then, there was a very vibrant, active seamen's mission along Marine Road in Apapa, to the extent that some companies actually leased the porter cabin accommodation you used to have there in those days as their transit place when they were passing through Lagos to their locations or going back to their countries. It was so comfortable, it was so homely. There was a small swimming pool there. It was so organized and so sweet. So I'm sincerely looking forward that with a new initiative by the team that is now trying to revive the mission in Nigeria, we will come back to the good old days and hopefully begin to give assurances to the foreign seafarers who are coming to our shores that Nigeria is not all you hear about in the foreign news. And we'll be able to, courtesy of the mission, take them to places in Lagos that they can see they can shop, they can interact, they can feel safe, and then hopefully begin to change the narrative. Thank you very much for the effort. And I would like to pledge that it goes without saying that it takes the seafarers to make the mission work. And once a seafarer, I'm always a seafarer. So anything that we can be called upon to do, me, my organization will be very happy to support it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We would like to call on Dr. Kingsley Akinroye, who is the Honorary Consul of Finland in Lagos, for his own goodwill message. Please let's welcome him. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to stand on the existing protocol. I must add that this is a very surprise invitation to the podium. And I also want to give it to the courtesy of the chairman of the occasion, Chief Adebayo Sarumi, who is a very good friend of Finland. And that's how we came also this morning to be here. You will know that Finland is up there in the Arctic. It's a country of 5 million population, a country with 180 islands. So there's more water than people in the area. But the relationship with Nigeria has been since Nigeria became independent, being the second country that recognized Nigeria as a republic country. Being full of water, the shipping industry in Finland is highly well developed. And I listened to the Secretary of the State Government of Ondo State, and I do know that Lagos State is having a lot of relationship with Finland. I'm sure Dr. Olatunji, the Transportation Commissioner, will also be very fully aware of that. So, the Secretary General, the Secretary to the Government of Ondo State, I would think my attending here this today is also an education for me. And on behalf of my ambassador, Dr. Yurkre Porkinen, I feel I will take a lot of information back to Finland. I feel that there are a lot of opportunities that Finland can benefit from Nigeria. But certainly, being that I'm a Nigerian, I do, and I'm very fully aware, there are a lot of opportunities we can exchange and benefit from each other. Today is the first time I'm hearing about seafarers. I'd never heard of it before. So I want to thank Chief Adebayo Sarumi for giving me this education again to learn about this. So I have something more to take back home and also to take to Helsinki to tell them about the seafarers. And I'm sure partnership will develop, collaboration will develop, friendship will develop, provided that's known, because I do know that the trade between Finland and Nigeria is going up, and this has been in the last 10 years. I wish you well in this symposium, and best wishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry, moving on, we are going on to an overview of the activities of the reason we are here. We're going to be learning more about the seafarers, just like me. It would be nice to learn about them, because some of us don't know much about them. So to do this, to give us an overview of the activities, we would invite Engineer Emmanuel Ilori, the Vice Chairman of the Association of Marine Engineers. He will be giving us an overview. Please let's welcome him.
The chairman, may I be allowed to stand on existing protocols? Let me quickly say a big welcome to our governor's representative for Ondo State, because as of yesterday we were concerned, but that you were able to be present here with us at short notice. Please let's give her a round of applause. I think she left Ondo about 3 p.m. yesterday, and you are still able to make it to Lagos despite the challenges of the roads. Thank you very much for being present with us. To the FOC West, again, thank you very much. At short notice, the FOC was able to send somebody to represent us at a very, very senior officer. Please, thank you very much. To the India High Commission, not many people understand how the Indian continent is very related to the Nigerian maritime industry. But we have a significant number of Indians at sea now, but they ply the oceans, and most of them come to Nigeria to support our trade. So the link between the mission to seafarers and the Indian government is a very strong link, and I'm sure it will continue for a foreseeable future. Ditto to the European countries, again, you play a major role in the maritime industry globally, and by virtue of Nigerian economic development, again, you are very well linked to Nigeria. And I'm sure the partnership between the mission to seafarers and these maritime countries is going to get stronger because of trade and because of relationship. We are here to support your consular activities as we continue to encounter them, because the world has changed. There's piracy, there are other issues, and then before you know, the seafarers have difficult challenges. But we are here on the ground. Therefore, this partnership will grow. And as a country, of course, we will be going to different avenues, and the mission to seafarers as a global partner will continue to support the efforts of Nigeria. Anyway, back to my own job. I was introduced as Vice President of the Association of Marine Engineers. Well, that's good. I'm a marine engineer and I'm a surveyor. But more importantly, I'm on the management committee of the mission to seafarers in Nigeria. And that is probably more important to me than any other job or any other assignment, because like the Secretary General said, you can see the flight attendants being given VIP treatment. But those who actually keep 90% of the global world trade going are treated almost like criminals. When they come into port, they are not even allowed to go ashore in some instances. So imagine somebody who's been away for 6 months, just give him some time to spend ashore from that prison called the ship. You can be told with prison because you can't go anywhere. And somebody who's done 6 hours flight, you give him free access, almost free access through the immigration channels. And the poor chap who's kept our global economy going, you cannot even allow him to be visited by the mission to seafarers, to take them out just for a few hours. I think the global community still has a lot of work to do. And we at the mission to seafarers, we are working very hard at global level and at national level to ensure that this changes. The Seafarers Happiness Index must change if we are going to change the perception of the war risk. It's not just about security. The Seafarers Happiness Index play a major role in how the insurance treats Nigerians. Seafarers sometimes say they don't want to come to Nigeria simply because of the challenges there. Their experience is very important. Back to the topic for the day, the maritime industry as a strategic driver for regional and national economic development. That's what we have chosen as the topic. If you take Nigeria back a few years, at a population of about 50 million people, things were working. The ships will come to Nigeria, discharge their goods happily, and they go away. Our produce were being exported out of Nigeria without any challenges. You name it, coal and various things that make Nigeria thrive and make the economy develop. We are moving without any difficulty. The littoral states, Lagos, Warri, Calabar, Port Harcourt, just to mention a few, were booming. Their economy had no challenges. The trade, very good. Sapele, with the export of wood, industry wood. The trade through the river ports, there were no challenges. And through our river ports, through the inland waterway system, the northern part of the country was not neglected. Barrow Port was thriving, Onitsha was thriving, and other areas within the riverine network. But we lost that. The country has been turned to a road, industrial, and accommodation development. All the industry around Nigeria, everything goes around the roads. So our vital network has been neglected over the years. No wonder road accidents actually increased exponentially. Our water ports, particularly Lagos, you can see what happened if you have from a population of 50 million to over 200 million. Lagos became congested. And the challenges of when you are actually accosted on the road by criminals, it's not something that happened overnight. It's something that took years to develop. We are only seeing the result. Therefore, when we choose this topic, we said, go connecting with our maritime heritage. Nigeria has a very rich maritime heritage, but we have neglected that heritage so much to the extent that we are now closed in. So that's one of the issues. And we are now suddenly seeing the development of deep sea ports all over the place. I think we need to begin to look at how we can use our maritime network to the best advantage of this country, not only for regional development, but for national development. So today we have assembled a few people who have real-time experience on some of the issues we need to address. It's not about giving an abstract paper without solutions. So what we are saying is, let us face the real issues, and then let us go back to our heritage and take it from where we were to where we can be today. Thank you for the Nigerian Navy, because without security, there cannot be economic development. So we'll be looking at port development, and that's very key. From Lagos and to the other ports, we have asked the master mariners. Again, they have experience, real experience from global and national. And they've been there, so they understand what the issues are, not only for the seafarers, but for the port economic activities. Then hopefully we should be hearing from ship owners' perspective. And then maritime infrastructure. There were times when we have the Apapa dockyard, which were more or less a mini industrial dockyard, were complete with everything. And I believe our Nigerian Navy actually grew out of the Apapa dockyard. What have we made of that? And then where are we today? I think thank you to my brother Engineer Greg Ugbevun for his little effort. Very important. He has a dockyard that is functional. But what have we made of some of the facilities that we had before, and what can we do to make sure we support these 200 million people that are in this country? That's on maritime infrastructure. We'll be hearing from Niger Dock. Incidentally, that place was established, would have been the paradise of shipping in Africa. I was in Bahrain many years ago when I saw the Asri shipyard, and you could see how the Arab country actually developed a shipyard and is serving their oil economy. What happened to Nigeria? Planning? Maybe. Development of the waterways, very, very critical. At nearly 3,000 miles of water, navigable, we have not been able to develop that important part of our asset. China is running, and we have the inland waterways that is almost running backwards. We have Chief Mogalu here who will be able to take us on that journey. We have heard a lot about seafarers. I think there might be one or two things we need to share with us. Seafarers, operational and medical challenges, very, very deep issue. Seafarers and mental health. And then the legal issues around seafarers, which is another topic that is very, very deep. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is just an overview of what we have for today. And I hope you can stay with us, enjoy all these things, and take them in and see how we can help this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Rev'd Emmanuel Ilori, for giving us the overview of what to expect. We'll be starting actually from the last presentation, and that's going to be very brief, because there is also a ministerial retreat. The Federal Ministry of Transportation is having a retreat ongoing within these premises also. Engineer Dr. Mogalu has been here, and he should actually even be in that retreat. But he says because it is seafarers, he will attend this first and then go back to the retreat. So we want to give him the opportunity to be able to join that retreat by taking his own presentation now. And that is on the maritime industry as a strategic driver for regional and national economic development. And this is key because he will be looking at it from the perspective of the inland waterways, and he's the administrator of the inland waterways in Nigeria in his position as MD of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA. Please welcome Chief Dr. George Mogalu for his presentation. Make that a bigger round of applause, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for this great leader for his presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The governor of Lagos State, ably represented by my friend, the Commissioner for Transport, the governor of Ondo State, ably represented by the Secretary to the State Government. Please let me plead that I stand on the already established protocol. Before I go into the paper I had tried to put down here to present, I'd like to commend the management team of the Mission to Seafarers, Lagos, Nigeria, particularly the chairman and Engineer Ilori, for what they have done, especially when you take it from the perspective that if there's any challenge you can find, it is in managing a charity organization, in managing a non-governmental organization. You can only do that successfully if you have the commitment, if you have the love, if you have the determination. Otherwise, you have that problem in your hands. So I want to sincerely commend the management team and wish them well. Like the Master of Ceremony did say, the topic we're talking about now is maritime industry strategic driver for regional and national economic development, the progressive development of the inland waterways. I'll try to be as very brief as possible since I'm going to make available the paper, both in hard copy and soft copy, so that we can take our time to look at it, especially looking at it from the perspective of the inland waterways in Nigeria. The theme of this event, which focuses on maritime industry and development, has a nexus which cannot be divorced from the overall socio-political and economic development of our country. The development in other sectors of the economy depends largely on the efficient performance of the maritime sector, be it in the areas of transportation system, oil and gas industries, manufacturing and production, trade facilitation and regulation, freight forwarding and logistics, etc. Generally speaking, developing an adequate, efficient, and integrated transportation system in Nigeria, where maritime or waterways transportation mode are given prominent roles, will in no small measure achieve to a great extent the needed connectivity with our heritage. A nation with vast coastlines, expansive inland waterways, and numerous natural resources, just as our country is. Significant achievement to these expectations will be met subject to the realities of resource availability, careful planning, realistic and diligent implementation strategies, and most importantly, thorough project analysis to ensure that the benefits net of the cost meets appropriate investment criteria, which represents value for money, are sustainable. Maritime, like we all know, is mostly everything connected to the sea or waterways, be it navigation, shipping, maritime engineering, and its industries have a direct impact on our everyday lives. The coffee we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, etc., mostly come from overseas and vice versa. From available records, 74% of the world's trade is carried by ship, 87% of Nigeria's international trade is transported by ship, 98% of Nigeria's energy is imported by ship, which means that without the maritime industry, we might be living in a different globe. It is therefore very important to reflect and highlight the strategies to adopt in ensuring that this essential industry is utilized for the development of our economy. A look at the Nigerian maritime sector competitiveness compared to global and continental contemporaries is very, very weak, despite accounting for the 85% of various external trade in terms of our GDP contribution to the economy. It averages 1.6%. However, the maritime sector has grown on an average of 3% in the last 5 years, with highest growth of 8% in Q4 of 2016 and 1.8% in Q4 of 2019. Therefore, in utilizing the maritime industry to drive our economy, we must strategically consider very sincerely the following factors. One is increasing our port efficiency. 2, increasing logistic competitiveness. 3, faithful implementation of executive orders on ease of doing business. The effective positive interaction between these essential elements will result to increased trade volumes of our ports, lower costs of goods and services, and higher contribution of the industry to our GDP. The development and progress of inland waterways, transportation systems of any country is part of the overall logistics mix that will be bringing competitiveness and increase the frequency of evacuation of goods from the ports. Presently, China has the largest network of inland waterways transportation system in the world in terms of length and traffic tonnage, followed by USA as shown in the analysis below, which provides a summary of the total length of waterways that is classified or otherwise defined in official documentation in each region, and an estimate of the length commercially significant inland waterways. Nigeria, our nation, has the least of navigable waterways in terms of development. Like we all know, we have about 10,000 kilometers of waterways in this country, but only about 3,000, slightly above 3,000, is commercially navigable. The inland waterways transportation systems in Nigeria is as old as the road transportation system. The riverine communities use this form of transportation as means of connectivity for trade and vessel travels to the hinterland and vice versa. History of navigation on the inland waterways in Nigeria dates to when floating timber and poles were used for navigation, and then general cargoes and other goods were conveyed by this means. Sight should not be lost of the fact that I remember some years back when I traveled to Sapele, in Delta State. Very early in the mornings, about 4 o'clock, you hear sounds of the horn of a very big sound you hear in the morning. That kind of makes you know that something is going to happen almost immediately. And when you look out through your window, when you go to the AT&P, the timber company there, owned by USA, you see various tons of timber floating, being used to move a cargo along those waterways. In Nigeria, it dates back when we used timber, we used to navigation, and then general cargo and other goods were conveyed by these means. With the advent of colonialism and introduction of mechanical boats, there were greater developments to the use of waterways, where the colonialists explored the major river ports, particularly that of the Niger and Benue, and others to service their trade. British companies like the Royal Niger Company, the United African Company, USC, John Holt, Leventis, etc., established many river stations along the routes as trading posts. At that time, inland waterways transportation was very important and prominent, accounting for over 30% of the entire goods moved in the country. But the gains made during that era declined progressively with time as a result of many factors, which we are all aware of. But with the return of democratic rule in 1999, successive governments had tried in one way or the other to revitalize this important mode of transportation and culminated into the establishment of the National Inland Waterways Authority in 1997 from the then Inland Waterways Department of the Federal Ministry of Transportation. The objectives, responsibilities, and functions of the authority are well defined in the Act establishing it. The authority from inception had embarked on the progressive infrastructural development and maintenance of the federal navigable inland waterways to achieve the set objective for which the authority was set up. These objectives and targets include, let me not bore you with the details of what we are set up to do, but I would like to mention that principally we are to increase the use of inland waterways to stimulate economic activities in the country. There are other responsibilities amongst which you find facilitate the increased number of boats, ferries, barges, vessels that navigate on our waterways, facilitate increased number of passenger traffic en route to the inland waterways, and a lot more. By the time we make available the copy of the paper, we will be able to see in those details, because what we tried to do was to take out the responsibilities of the National Inland Waterways as enumerated in the Act establishing the authority. The inland waterways, being an integral component of the overall transport system of Nigeria and the sub-region, is one of the most advantageous modes and having the least impact on the environment, the lowest for domestic and international transport in terms of cost, enormous capacity reserves, and least energy consumption. For example, 15% to 20% or even more of the national freight can be carried on barges at the lowest unit cost. Inland waterways has the following environmental advantages. It is very energy efficient. It has tremendous capacity. It has low pollution. It is very suitable for hazardous cargo. It causes little traffic congestion. It produces little air and noise pollution. It has minimum land use social impact. It's a known fact that bulk cargo all over the world is usually moved by inland waterways. It's only in our place here in most of the African countries that we subject our roads to carry the pressure they are not designed to carry. I tried to make an analysis the other day when I was speaking to the press, when we are trying to drive this process of using inland waterways to move cargo from Lagos to Onitsha. I just drew a simple analysis, and that is, assuming we have 5 million containers to move from Lagos to Onitsha, what that translates to in the present terms is that we have to put 5 million trailers on the road, taking the containers to the east, and another 5 million trailers on the road, bringing back the empties to Lagos, in which case we are going to subject our roads to carrying 10 million containers. Imagine the weight and relate it to the pressure that is placed on our roads. The number of miles 1 ton of cargo can be carried per gallon of fuel by barge compared to other means of transportation is enormous. By truck, it will travel 59 miles. By rail, it will take 202 miles, but by barge, it will travel 514 miles. we are talking only of 1 ton of cargo, what you can cover in terms of the fuel utilization. Size of cargoes is key to water transportation efficiency. The capacity of 1,500 tons of an inland waterways barge can carry 5 times its own weight. The cargo capacity of a barge is 5 times greater than one semi-trailer. We also drew a network here in the paper, a table where you can see, where you can do a little bit of comparison. But I'll just mention one in terms of, the different modes of transportation and the cargo capacity that can be moved. For a 1,500 ton barge, 500 ton barge, for rail, what it can translate to is only 100 tons. And for road is only 25 tons. But for a barge, it can take up to 1,500 tons at a time. We'll try to put a table here so that you can look at it and be able to make the comparisons yourself. And when you also look at the advantages, again, we talked about inland waterway transportation is very low form of energy form of transportation. The companies that make up the barge and towing industries are highly reputed and regulated for a strong environmental stewardship. The inland waterway transportation is highly safe. This mode of transportation has less and fewer number of accidents, fatality, and injuries as compared to the rail and road. It involves less urban population exposure than either truck or rail and operates on a system that has few crossings and relatively remote from population centers. All factors reduce the risk of waterway accident. Inland waterway transportation causes less or little congestion. Water transportation does not have congestion problem and also rarely causes congestion for others. Inland waterway transport has less land use, less land use social impact. Barges and tugs quietly make their way along isolated waterways and have reduced access to neighborhoods. Unlike road trucks and rails, water transportation has little impact on densely populated areas. The experience we have today in Apapa Port and the challenges we have today is a good example. And this can be reasonably avoided. And that is why we are laying the emphasis we are laying now to see how we can move cargo by water. I believe very strongly that by the time we're able to explore all the potentials, the pressure we have today on our ports will be drastically reduced. Because if you look at the percentage of cargo that arrive at Apapa Port and the Tinkam Port, a good percentage of it, over 50–60%, end up in the southeast. So why can't we then take advantage of our inland waterways to move these cargoes by water and reduce not only the pressure on our roads, helping decongesting the ports as we have them today. Potentials for inland water transportation in Nigeria. The first and necessary step in having an assessment for the potentials of inland water transportation is to evaluate the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, and provide solutions to mitigate and identify weaknesses and threats in terms of assessing our analysis. So what we have done also on the next page in my presentation is to present the strength, the weakness, and how we can mitigate these challenges. So as you go through again, it provides us an opportunity to look at the opportunities, the threats, and the mitigation measures. But let me also mention here very briefly, in terms of strength, that we have a total of over 10,000 kilometers of waterways, though like I did say earlier, only about 3,200 of it is all year round navigable. But in terms of strength, it's cost effective, it creates opportunities for regional economic development, the transport capacity can be easily increased because as you start, you continue developing the industry, we keep bringing in new barges to do the inland waterway transportation, and we can easily adapt to changing market demands. In terms of weaknesses, the Niger-Benue rivers, we have low navigable depth for between 6 and 8 months of every year during the dry season. There's a very low water level, so we have a challenge in terms of the navigable depth. There's also an apparent lack of intermodal river terminals because as I said today, it's only the Onitsha River Port and Barrow Port that are both completed. The Jamata River Port we are building in Lokoja is only about 63% completed. Oguta River Port is about 58–59% completed, but abandoned over a period of 12–13 years until we came into office barely 1 year, 8 months ago. But activity is going to start on getting the Oguta River Port completed with the fencing that we are doing the procurement processes now. We also have greater opportunities There's threats in terms of lack of awareness of the potentials. There's so much lack of awareness. I remember when we did the test run to move cargo between One and Onitsha. Everybody who came in contact with me then discouraged me. Everybody. If they don't tell you about the debt, they tell you about security, everybody discouraged me. So what I now did was to shut my mouth, except one or two, my GM Marine and the GM company secretary, who is my deputy, kind of. We met and then we said, let us do this thing without anybody's knowledge, including the press. So I now got the buy-in of the barge owners, convinced the president, Kikelume, I will remember his name fully as we get along, got him to buy into the project, and we talked. I shared my expectation, shared my desire, and he bought into it. So on a Sunday, we decided to move containers from One to Onitsha. Did everything on a Sunday, and then 4 days, the cargo came to Onitsha. And on a Sunday again, we returned it back. So it was only when we returned it that we now got the press to know, and we made a news out of it. So you find these challenges, but then again, that is not to say that there are no threats. There are security challenges, but we have to surmount these challenges. There's our issue of getting the people to have a buy-in, because up till this moment, we are still talking with the Importers Association. I've engaged the insurance companies. I've also engaged the Chambers of Commerce in Onitsha. We are talking with them to get, because you cannot do this kind of movement without getting the buy-in of the importer of the good, who decides where his good will go to. So we are getting them to understand, to see with us that we desire sincerely to make these routes viable because of the economic potentials we see in it. Private sector participation is an essential part of the authority's developmental strategy, especially in terminal and barging operations. And the main objectives are: 1, to assure private sector operating efficiency and know-how of the safety and the environment. We want to tap into private sector financing resource, knowing fully well that the resources are not available as it used to be. But then we free up the newer financial resources. The little we have, we free it up so that we can use it for other purposes by the time we get the buy-in of the private sector. Then swift implementation of the inland waterways transport system, and then managing project risks. Then our action plan in NIWA. Detailed action plan for development of federal navigable inland waterways in Nigeria. 1, we are considering the erection of survey monuments along all rivers, establishment of river gauges, survey to define navigational routes and channels, installation of river buoys and advanced navigational systems. As we speak, we have done the installation of buoys between Baro and Lokoja. The next phase is what we want to do now between Lokoja, Onitsha, and then Lokoja, Lagos. We are doing construction and rehabilitation of river terminals. We have completed the new jetties, both in Odekpe. The one in Iwokbi is ongoing but nearing completion. We have also done one in Boki, Baro Boki in Adamawa. And in this new procurement, we are looking at putting new ones, places like in Ela, Odekpe. We have completed Odekpe, and a few other areas that want to put new rehabilitation, new jetties, and then rehabilitate the ones we have. There's something we're already doing now in Lagos Marina so that we can rebuild it. Last Sunday, I did a water tour of all our jetties and terminals in Lagos. We have identified some that require to be worked on. I was happy when the Secretary to the Government of Ondo State said something about what they are trying to do. We are very happy about it. I've already scheduled a visit to Ondo State, Ibokoda, to look at what is on the ground there. And then Edo State is also looking at about developing a port in their place, again, a body. So these are developments that are very, very important, and these are developments we as an agency, we are interested in so that we can build synergy and develop the inland waterway industry, because we believe very strongly that that is the way to go. Economic benefits of developing inland waterways transportation in Nigeria, there's quite a lot. The economic benefits of developing these waterways is quite enormous. The economic benefit derived from developing an inland waterway transportation system in Nigeria include: 1, improved transportation systems through increased navigational efficiency for the movement of bulk cargo. This will lead to realization of national transport policy and mass transit objectives of Nigeria. Secondly, economic viability resulting from reduction in the cost of transportation. And thirdly, availability and affordability of transport services. Currently, the volume of cargo, like containerized cargo, moved between Port Harcourt and Lagos downstream is expected to boost as a result of the dredging of the channel. This is very key, very important. We are talking with a private sector investor who is interested in helping us in developing this channel, because we are at the concluding stage of concession of Onitsha River Port, starting the concession process for Baro River Port. Even very interestingly, 2 private sector players with foreign partnership are trying to take over the Uguta River Port from us to complete the project and then manage it over a period of time. Economic integration at regional and state levels. For example, the Niger-Benue water system links Nigeria to Niger, Upper Volta, Chad, and Cameroon. It is therefore of strategic importance to ECOWAS. Fifthly, improved communication link between the coast and hinterland in Nigeria. 6 job opportunities along the river, Rhine, and inland areas arising from dredging and construction of river terminals facilities. The truth about it is that by the time we develop this sector, new towns will develop along the line, because these vessels, they will certainly have stopover points where the seafarers themselves will have an opportunity of coming out and then interacting with the community. New towns will develop and new businesses will grow along the line. It will also provide us land reclamation possibilities. That is, with dredge spoils will be used to fill up marshy areas if requested by the communities. We can decongest the sea and coastal ports, and thus eliminating bureaucratic bottlenecks at ports, leading to an improvement in international trade. Improved interaction between people and cultures of the lower Niger Delta, which will lead to better communication, understanding ourselves, and tolerance. Improved quality of life from numerous economic activities that will be generated along the river banks, leading to a high level of economic self-sufficiency within the host communities. An opportunity to develop inland waterways transportation technology like navigational aids, terminal, operational facilities at the river ports and ferries, small crafts, barges, and pontoons. Most countries of the world gladly welcome this great opportunity. International trade and local traders will derive large benefits from these projects when completed. There would be, as a consequence, evolved employment opportunities in dockyards, port terminals, and repair yards along the river banks. Enhancement of tourism, development, and marketing. New economic opportunities, activities would inevitably attract tourists from out of the country. We're relieving the highways and bridges, like I did say before, of excessive weight and increasing lifespan. Most of the road transportation infrastructure in Nigeria is currently either completely out of use or is in their need of structural maintenance works. There will be improvement in fish yields in the dredged channels, which had hitherto been depleted due to reduced water levels. A good practical example is whenever there is the opening of the floodgates in the Kainji floodgates. Once you open them, you notice there's improved fishing activities over a period of time, and the benefit also drops the moment these channels are closed. On our own part in NIWA, we've done quite a few. There are a few physical improvement works and essential key ingredients for developing the waterway transportation. This we realize, and we're laying emphasis on it, that we need to develop the basic infrastructure along the waterways. And the moment we're able to do this, it will impact positively in developing that industry. As at date, the dredging of the river, lower river Niger from Baro in Niger State to Warren Delta State, a distance of about 572 kilometers. Work is ongoing. We're doing maintenance dredging of the lower river Niger and other important navigational channels to enhance navigability. Currently, the minister we have is, he believes strongly that rather than every time we're looking for capital dredging possibilities, which may not come immediately because of the cost implication, that emphasis should now be on maintenance dredging or specific channels that we will use on a continuous basis. And that is what we are doing now. As an agency, we are procuring new dredgers with the ones we have already have been deployed to help us in maintenance dredging of those channels, particularly the ones that we have considered prime in terms of moving cargo within the hinterland, and those we think that has immediate economic benefit and advantage to our country. Then continuous clearance of water hyacinth and other aquatic goods on the highways. We have procured a few water hyacinth clearing equipment, and then we have also been able to give out some projects as of last year, because this is one challenge that is a recurring decimal. It's not a one-off thing every year, because the water hyacinth comes from outside Nigeria. The moment you finish clearing them this season, by next season again, you see them come back. Even those particular areas you have worked on will also, you still have the challenge there. So waterways patrol to enhance safety on our waterways. We've been able to re-equip to a reasonable extent our police, because we have a police, the newer police, to support them, to encourage them, both in looking at their welfare and whatever we can do to ensure serious activities in terms of maintaining safety on all our waterways. Another thing we have been able to do as an agency is the continuous removal of wrecks and derelicts on the waterways to enhance safe navigation. Wrecks are things you don't predetermine. They happen, and once they happen, you are bound to, if those channels can be regularly in use. Training and licensing of boat operators nationwide. We have established a school in Warri where we train boat operators, and we have now partnered with an organization that is also setting up another training school here in Lagos, so that they can train not only the operators and license them, they will also help us in certification of the vessels that will be on our roads. We are doing increased supervision of boats building and repair yards to enhance their standard. You will not believe the volume of work that is being done in a place like Port Harcourt, the boat yards that are springing up left, right, and center, and people are doing quite a lot of work. The last time I visited Yauri in Kebbi State to present a vessel there, I found out there's also some local companies that are doing quite well in terms of building local vessels that are certified to be of very good quality. We have also increased sensitization campaign to water users through seminars, jingles on radio and TV, and then documentation, and most importantly, enforcement. Because you'll be surprised that our people, despite all the effort we are making, you find people now want to load a vessel that should carry 20 persons. You see them loading 60 on the same vessel, plus the cargo. Like the last accident that happened in Kebbi was a very serious challenge to us all. So like I did say, we're trying to abridge this presentation so that you can look at it. There's a summary of positive actionable solutions by NIWA, which is also on page 11 of this presentation, so that once you have the paper, you can be able to look at it. But I must also say that there are basic challenges of what we are facing, waterways is facing in terms of achieving our developmental objectives. Principally is this jurisdictional conflict with some state governments and other government agencies on the administration of the inland waterways. There are serious jurisdictional conflicts, but I thank God efforts are being made to resolve most of them. The non-compliance with the and disrespect for NIWA Act by some corporate organizations and private organizations which have negatively, in fact, impacted on NIWA in terms of our revenue generation. There are government organizations, there are corporate entities that are owing us massively. And the next moment, they will take you to court. The case will remain in court. You finish with the High Court. They take you to the Appeal Court. From there, we have some cases in Supreme Court that have gone over 10, 15 years. And what the implication of this is that within this period that the litigation is going on, the revenue that is due to the agency is tied up within those challenges. So we have done quite a lot, and in trying to get this sorted out, and by the grace of God, we are going to succeed. We are beginning to engage a lot of, I don't want the court to resolve all matters. Some of these issues can be resolved by mere discussion, and we have started that, and we are getting positive results. We've done quite a lot in terms of infrastructural development, like I mentioned to you, but I forgot to tell you that we also completed a new jetty in Yenagoa, the one we call Yenagoa 2. We've also done shore protection work there. We've also done the jetty in a terminal in Bakin Kogi, also in Adamawa State. We also did a few other things. We have procured some equipment that we are going to use in our Lokoja River Port by the time we're completed. Yesterday, I gave an approval because we have acquired another new set of 20 patrol boats, which will be distributed to our area offices. So in concluding this presentation, ladies and gentlemen, the inland waterways, being a naturally flowing body of water, must be trained and maintained to achieve the required roles and values derivable from it as components of the maritime industry sector. The administration and management of the waterways inland transportation systems through the provision of adequate and required infrastructure are the key to utilizing it for national and regional economic development. The strategic locations of the aforementioned waterways infrastructure and the ongoing efforts to procure more projects are right drivers for wealth creation and overall economic development of the country. Efficient management of this infrastructure by the deliberate policy of private-public sector management of these resources will highly enhance the sustainability of these projects and also add value to the investments. The development of the maritime sector by adequately managing and administering the inland transportation system will catalyze commerce, social integration, job creation, and accelerate rural development. Other benefits to national and regional economy include multimodal transport linkage with other means of transportation, regional development through access to interregional trade, creation of jobs opportunities, reduction in transportation costs and services, enhancing of tourism potentials, sports and recreational activities, promotion of agriculture, resources development, and increased food production, amongst others. So once again, let me sincerely thank you, the Mission to Seafarers, for this opportunity, this privilege you have given me today to speak on this very important topic. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Quite insightful there. I'm sure you'll agree with me. Chief Mohalu. Please, let's appreciate him some more. And it's good to know also that NIWA is working to assist in taking pressure off our road. We will also look at this topic from the infrastructure perspective. But before then, I know that our chief host is pressed for time, and he will be moving on. His Excellency, Mr. Governor of Lagos State, who is also doing wonders on the waterways, by the way, through LASWA and other such like agencies. We want to show some appreciation to the chief host and also to Dr. Mohalu, who will be taking some questions and comments on your paper. We'll probably send them by fax to you at Lokoja to respond to them. I'm sure people will want to say a few things about what you said, but we also know that you have to be at the retreat. So permit me to invite Mrs. Yetunde Akinluyi for presentation. Also the chairman of MTS, Are Chief Adebayo Babatunde Sarumi, to please come up to make presentations to our guests. I will first invite our chief host, His Excellency, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, represented by the Honorable Commissioner of Transportation, Dr. Frederick Oladende.
The Mission to Seafarers, Lagos, Nigeria, Award of Honor, being presented to His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, for the commitment to service, well-being of the seafarers, and making Lagos a preferred destination for commerce. On this 5th day of August in the year 2021, and this presentation is from all of us, Management Committee, Mission to Seafarers, Lagos.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, can we celebrate the Governor of Lagos State for receiving this first award from MTS Nigeria for the many good works that the government is doing on the waterways and by extension providing employment and welfare to Nigerian seafarers. Also a special presentation to His Excellency the Governor of Ondo State. You've heard about the Ondo Deep Sea Port, which will be attracting a lot of vessels, and which by extension will also be creating more jobs for seafarers in Nigeria. Please welcome the SSG Ondo State, Princess Odu, to receive on behalf of the Governor.
Thank you very much. Well, let me say this, that while I'll be presenting this, I just want to make a remark. And the reason for my remark is this. I was one of those who served as a technical advisor to His Excellency the late Governor Olusegun Agagu on the issue of local seaport. And I'm very, very happy to say to the whole world that in an unusual manner, because once a governor leaves, the next governor that comes has an idea what he also wants to do, he does not pursue it. But this our Ogbeni Arakuri, but this our Arakuri believes in continuity, and he has decided that that dream of a port in Ondo must come to fruition. I do pray that I'll be around on the day the launching is going to be done. On this occasion, I'm asked to present to you an award in appreciation of His Excellency's dogged fight for ensuring that the state, whenever Lagos calls themselves State of Aquatic Splendor, I wonder what Ondo will be calling themselves. This is a greater aquatic splendor, and I'm pretty sure that we all know what we're talking about. The longest sea shoreline, out of 850 something kilometers of shoreline, Ondo alone takes more than 10%. I hereby award, I take this one and ask you to please present it to His Excellency on behalf of Mission to Seafarers. We thank you very much for all the commitment that you have made and are making to the plight of the seafarers, to be able to, you'll soon see them in very large number when the port is open, and you will understand why we are committed to ensuring that we give them better attention. I thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Madam SSG. And we will also be appreciating the Managing Director of NIWA, Chief George Mohalu.
Once again, you permit me, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm being so emotional today because I'm witnessing things that I have not been witnessing before. I have been in this industry for over 40 years. Today has marked the greatest amount of what I will call a supervision being brought into fruition by an extremely professional, this time around, extremely professional Chief Executive of NIWA. And when I say this, I'm in a position to say it. I'm not just flattering you, sir. I thank you very much. On behalf of the rest of us, in appreciation of your coming, in appreciation of what you have decided to do for this country and what you are doing, we want to present this one to you in appreciation and thank you very much. And ask you to please continue with the good work.
Please celebrate NIWA with a round of applause. Celebrate NIWA with a round of applause. Thank you very much. We will do a group photograph before you return to your seat, sir. After this, we will want the Honorable Commissioner of Transportation in Lagos State to come back up. SSG Ondo State, representing His Excellency, can you please come up with your award, ma? So we have a group photograph with the award recipients. with the MTS chairman. Chairman Seafarers Forum, Ship Owners Forum, Chairman, Mrs. Orakusi, can you please join in this group photograph? Master Mariners President, is he here? Captain Alao, please step forward. Let's see the industry duly represented here. Say again. You want them on the stage? Okay. The paparazzis, size and mass. Apology for that. Just so we can have very good photograph. Engineer Ogbefun, please, sir, can you join us? Oh, we'll do that. The paparazzis want the masks, the face masks off, so they can see you properly in the photograph. Engineer Ogbefun, can you stand beside Mrs. Orakusi, please? Well, that is it, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Can you celebrate them, our dignitaries? Thank you for this. We will ask you to stretch your feet for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Walk around, get tea, get water, and then we'll be back here to continue with the technical session. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Craig. Welcome to my studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 5 minutes, can we please come back together in the next 5 minutes so we can continue with the symposium? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 2 minutes break is over. We would like to request that everybody settles down so that we can go on with the technical aspect of this seminar. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 2 minutes break is over. Please, can we come back into the hall so we can continue with the technical part of this seminar? Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. All right, I'd like to welcome us back from our short break. Back to continue in the technical part of this seminar, Symposium. So we're moving on with the second paper, the maritime industry as a strategic driver for regional and national economic development. We've heard about the development of the waterways. Now we want to hear about the maritime infrastructure. Giving us the paper this afternoon is Mr. Adebola Adesoye from Niger Dock. He is a sales director, Shipyard Niger Dock. He has been with Niger Dock for about 12 years in different capacity, ranging from project management, control, safety, business development, and sales. And he has led the vessel repair and servicing part of the organization. He's an industry leader in his field. So kindly welcome him to give us a paper, a talk on the maritime infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adebola Adesoye. Please, can we give him a round of applause? You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting us, Niger Dock, to participate in this symposium today. It's very, very refreshing to speak here and share some of the knowledge that we've gathered over the years. I'll be giving a speech, but while I'm giving a speech, the slide will also be showing, so you can also follow. Permit me to stand on existing protocols. The topic here is role of maritime infrastructure development. From the slide there, you can see it's a bird's eye view of Niger Dock. We have the different areas: ship repair, fabrication, logistics, cargo handling. The picture just gives you an overall view of it. So next slide. And I read. The term maritime infrastructure refers to all activities and facilities that support and enhance the maritime transport sector to make it effective, productive, safe, and environmentally friendly. This includes ports, terminals, channel and harbors, warehouses, shipyards for new builds, maintenance, and repairs, intermodal transport, ICT, equipment rail, and a lot more. Essentially, they can be categorized into two: physical and social infrastructure. Richard Balzano, a presidentially appointed deputy administrator of the United States Maritime Administration and a maritime executive in the United States of America, stated, and I quote, "Maritime infrastructure is an indispensable national asset, which is why the U.S. Department of Homeland Security recognizes the maritime transport sector or system as one of the 7 critical subsectors within the transportation system. Disruptions in operations at U.S. ports could torpedo our economy or even prevent the U.S. military, which moves nearly all of its equipment on ships, from deploying overseas." According to him, the maritime transportation system accounts for slightly more than 1/4 of the total U.S. economy, which is equaling $5.4 trillion in economic activity. Now, this shows the significant importance of maritime infrastructure to the national economy of a country. In Nigeria, in particular, due to inadequate road networks infrastructure, we can say the importance of maritime infrastructure cannot be overemphasized. Trade between nations has always been a significant contribution in terms of increasing wealth among the world population. Today, over 80% of all trade is seaborne. World merchandise trade volumes have grown at modest rates of 2.3% in 2014, following the global GDP growth rate of 2.5%. Now, this indicates a strong, very strong correlation between trade and GDP. Although the pandemic has distorted the previous trend, new data still confirm a strong correlation between the GDP and trade. Even the history of urban development also reveals that economic advancement is especially apparent in cities with seaports, Lagos being one of them. And in the past couple of years, there has been significant push from the private and public sectors in recognizing the growth impact that the maritime sector can have on the economy. Pre-pandemic efforts, I believe, on this push have been vindicated by data and statistics gathered during the pandemic and thereafter. Truth be told, in a nation such as ours, the maritime infrastructure plays an indispensable role in building the economy and contributing to the development of other critical economic sectors. It is our ticket to a brighter tomorrow. I must commend the regulatory agencies such as MPA, NIWA, NIMASA, NSC, NCDMB, as well as other stakeholders in the industry, such as the Mission to Seafarers, Ship Owners Associations, for the efforts and synergy in highlighting the importance of maritime infrastructure, actively participating in the development of this infrastructure development. It should, however, be noted that there's still several issues bedeviling development of maritime infrastructure, which will require greater effort and synergy amongst various agencies, associations, private sectors, and even individuals. There is no gainsaying the fact that lack of bespoke policies for specific areas of various arms of maritime industry has been the bane of the sector. Where policies and laws exist, such as the Cabotage Act, sometimes there's inadequate political and technical will and capacity to enforce them. Some of the challenges to the development of maritime infrastructure and possible solutions are as follows. 1, inadequate funding or a national financial intervention. It is a notorious fact that infrastructure and facilities provision in the maritime sector and the demand for its continuous modernization are very capital intensive and attract significant capital outlay. Currently, there are shortcomings within the system shows that there are systemic gaps in the maritime industry, leading to inadequacies in operations. This explains why the Nigerian government was why when the Nigerian government was the sole investor in maritime, it was never able to meet the finance requirements in the face of completing demands from other sectors of the national economy. Even now, despite the government's adoption of privatization and commercialization as a strategy to developing the maritime industry, the situation is still apparent. Financial intervention must be provided to the industry to experience growth. There exists in many countries several government-established programs to develop and ensure the sustainable growth of particular industries. These programs establish significant financial and policy support from government that include mandatory patronage, removal of obstacles to the business, and financial support in the form of subsidies and the like. Under policy development, it is now being done. Government could consider implementing a policy in ship repairs and maintenance that ensures that indigenous and foreign ship owners engage in cabotage in Nigeria carry out their ship repairs and maintenance at Nigerian yards. NIMASA could even use provisions of the existing cabotage law to ensure major vessels utilizing Nigerian yards come to us. Government could also implement a policy that encourages the development of terminals and other infrastructure at different ports. Subsidies could be given in the form of incentives to companies willing to develop terminals and other infrastructure as is currently ongoing with companies that are building roads. In essence, they get tax rebates. Government could even provide indirect financial support through interest-free loans, standing as guarantor for players in the maritime industry. Government policy development in the financial sector could be done through increased bank moratorium, term limits, and interests. For example, the government of India approved financial assistance policy for Indian yards for 10 years. The Indian government has also approved that all government departments or agencies have to provide right of first refusal to Indian shipyards while procuring vessels or repairing vessels. And these are things that can be replicated here in Nigeria. In the same vein, the Polish Development Bank offers assets owners prepayment guarantees and also provides up to 35% in the form of loans for vessel owners. This is complemented by the provision of working capital for operations. I believe if such models are replicated in Nigeria, it will greatly boost the growth of the Nigerian maritime industry. Second, cost of maritime vessel operation, that is, port-to-port charges. The bouquet of services and levies associated with the coastal movement of vessels within Nigerian waters is generally referred to as green light charges. Now, it is a fact that these fees and levies associated with coastal movements within Nigerian waters are the highest in the world. Additionally, the interpretation of the applicability of these fees is vastly inconsistent, even for similar vessel movements. These conditions have resulted in Nigeria being one of the costliest maritime environments to operate in the world. For instance, it is currently cheaper for a vessel to sail internationally than it is for it to move from one port in Nigeria to another. And this is one of the reasons why maritime trade and shipyards outside Nigeria and across West Africa are on the rise. These conditions, as highlighted above, contradict some government policies and strategies on ease of doing business, cabotage, and local content. Given these inconsistencies, the current operating environment in the Nigerian maritime industry does not adequately serve national interests, but is inimical to the industrialization and economic development of Nigeria. Although the maritime agencies, which we've mentioned earlier, have taken bold steps by reducing the port-to-port charges for specific areas to correct this imbalance, there is still a lot of work to be done in ensuring the steps that are taken are publicly communicated and enforced. Consequently, it is imperative that such green light charges be reviewed and clarified with a view towards establishing a fee regime that is consistent with international norms and aligned with the federal government's policies for economic development. Insecurity. Now, the security of the Gulf of Guinea is integral to economic health of West Africa. The Gulf is the transient hub for much of the region's $253 billion of commerce, most notably petroleum products. Yet, the Gulf of Guinea has also become a hotbed for piracy, overshadowing, in some cases, the Gulf of Aden. Brazenly, pirates steal oil and cargo from defenseless, sometimes isolated vessels transiting the Gulf. And in recent years, kidnap for ransom also increased. All these security issues have put a significant strain on the development of the maritime industry, as investors are now too afraid of the resultant impact on their investments. Nigeria has been developing its maritime security strategy to address piracy and crimes in the waters. And I believe the joint task forces, most notably with NIMASA and the Navy, they conduct law enforcement and anti-piracy patrols backed with electronic surveillance assets that can track the International Maritime Organization number for all cooperating vessels in Nigerian waters. Now, the issue of inadequate assets required for law enforcement and anti-piracy patrols has prevented the maritime security strategy from achieving its best results. Hence, purpose-built assets must be built notably in country in order to reap the full benefits of the security strategies. Tax incentives. Maritime infrastructure and facilities, including shipyard, require constant maintenance and improvement. Modernization and technical advancement are essential in keeping up with the general advancement of vessels and maritime standards. Such advancements are achieved through a program of continuous capital investment and technical training. This is the only way to remain relevant in the industry and ensure its sustainability. Players in the maritime industry and shipyards across West Africa and the world in general are receiving direct support from their respective governments through policy and strategic development pioneer programs and specialized tax incentives that encourage a clear path for capital investment in the maritime sector. A good example is Malaysia, which offers incentives to shipyards whereby there's a tax credit valued at 60% of any capex usable against tax debt for up to 5 years. Now, it will be viable for Nigeria to copy such models, but of course, to tweak the models for our own specific environment, for use in our promotion of maritime industry. It is important to note that such incentives already exist with some degree of success in country. And this is for other industries, including community-specific export incentives, as well as incentives for development of agriculture and entertainment. For manpower and capacity building, one of the most important gaps in the maritime infrastructure is the manpower gap. The operation and success of the industry depends on quality, productive, and readily available professional and skilled manpower. The need is emphasized by the fact that shipping, ports, and the likes is an international enterprise that requires technical expertise in several specialized areas. It follows, therefore, that if we want the maritime industry to grow on a guaranteed, sustainable scale, the competence, quality, and availability of manpower is sacrosanct. As a maritime nation, Nigeria is yet to take its rightful place in the Committee of Maritime Nations. Now, this is because the nation's inland and international shipping business is presently dominated by both foreign-owned and crewed vessels, leaving very little to Nigerian-owned vessels and seafarers, despite the assistance of Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act, as well as the Content Act. Now, these acts are enacted with the aim of restricting the use of foreign vessels to trade in and out of Nigeria and promote the development of indigenous tonnage for the purpose of job creation. The Nigerian economy is still not achieved the revenue potential annually, especially when portion of this revenue goes to foreign-owned vessels. And I think prior speakers have touched on this. Now, a lot can be learned from the Philippines. This is another example. They have achieved their reputation of being a global supplier of seafarers, creating millions of jobs for their citizens and boosting foreign exchange earnings. Now, the time is now not to only grow indigenous ship ownerships, but also increase the number, competence, and capacity of our seafarers and blue-collar workers in the industry. In order to close the skill gap in the industry, maritime training institutions will have to be developed, preferably through PPP, where the private sector can contribute competence, quality, professionalism, and the federal government can implement favorable policies. This will ensure a gradual and guaranteed inflow of professionals into the industry annually, with internal competence required to work not only in Nigeria, but globally. Now, lastly, the above listed challenges are only a fraction of the issues plaguing the development of the maritime infrastructure. Now, these challenges are glaring and have been discussed multiple times in different engagements, both by the private sector and the public sectors. Yet, we are yet to see the kind of gain that we should be experiencing. Now, the importance of the maritime infrastructure and its development is invaluable. And it is significant to the Nigerian economy, even to West Africa as a whole, and must not be fiddled with if we are to experience growth in the economy. Nonetheless, we must acknowledge the efforts of the public, private sectors, and other stakeholders till date in addressing development of the maritime infrastructure, even to the extent of engaging countries in the Gulf of Guinea. Goals have been set by both the public and private sectors, but these goals cannot be achieved without enabling environment. Now, this enabling environment needs to be created through policies and appropriate implementation of these policies. Therefore, the federal government of Nigeria must not relent in the pursuit of creating an environment that enables the development of the maritime infrastructure and industry as a whole to the end of growing the economy exponentially. Just before I leave, I'd like us to look at the slide. There's just a short video. It's just going to be 20 seconds. It shows our ship repair capability. It shows the vessel in there. That's one of the largest vessels to dock in Nigeria. And we have upwards of 200 people working on that particular vessel. If you look at it, you see the cranes, gantry cranes. Now, all this equipment and infrastructure costs money. They're very, very expensive. And I'm sure the other shipyards in Nigeria can attest to this, to the difficulty in accessing funds in order to purchase equipment, build infrastructure, and deliver on projects. So that is pretty much the speech today. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much from Niger Doc. Please, another round of applause for him. We shall move very swiftly because we don't want to take up too much of your time. We now call on Captain Alao, representing Captain Abidoye, the President of the Master Mariners of Nigeria, to come and give us his presentation on the perspectives of ports development in Nigeria. Please, another round of applause for him, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. I beg to stand on Next 16 protocol. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tajuddin Alao. I am actually the president, Nigerian Association of Master Mariners. This paper, Captain Abidoye was supposed to present on our behalf, and this is me now finding myself presenting the paper on behalf of Captain Abidoye. He's under isolation and could not come. He just came back from abroad. Thank you. Hello? Yes. So when I say hi, it's Captain Abidoye talking, not me. This paper is quite long, well researched, but I cannot go through it. I will give a brief, present the executive summary, and this will be available in soft copy for everybody to access. I was listening to the representative of the executive governor of Ondo State when she mentioned that the Olokola deep sea port will soon come into existence. And my mind went to the evolution of ports. Port, as you know, is the interface between the ship and the landmass, between the harbor and the port itself, and the port also is the interface between the mainland and the port. So it's very, very, very essential. And it's a bonded warehouse. It's not a permanent warehouse. It's for cargo in transit. But also, that is where the customs keeps the goods until duties are paid and released to the public. Wait a minute. Hello, wait a minute. Going briefly through my paper, I will give a brief of each sections. Section 1 is actually an introduction to what port does to our economy and to the global economy. The sections also look at different types of ports. As I told you, 30 years ago, even in Singapore, ships anchor and barges come alongside. But 100 years ago, ships anchor off Accra, and people, they swam to the ship or they bring canoes, and cargoes are discharged into those canoes and then taken ashore. But today, we have harbors. And I look, even in Hong Kong 30 years ago, it was still midstream. Singapore had only one jetty. But today, see the global contribution, the contribution of Singapore and Hong Kong to the global economy. Very fantastic, very great. I look forward to Olumakaiye deep sea port, not only growing small, but becoming what we call a smart port, where artificial intelligence and all that will come into play. Section 2 of that paper look at the chronology of port development, the milestone and development year in, year out. In 1974-75, we have the port congestion in Nigeria, and then Tinkan Island was initiated because we have over 300 ships outside by in Lagos. And I was a victim because I was outside for 120 days. Some of my colleagues here, 180 days outside bar in order to go in. The paper went from 14th century, 15th century to cover for people who want to research. And what took place in 2003 and 2006, the port concession that we have today. By the way, a private port, Burutu, was established and run by John Holt. And MPA took over because the MPA Act came into being in 1954. But before then, John Holt was running Burutu. And ships were going as far back as Degema, elder ship, to go and load palm kernel and palm oil. Section 3 looks at the contemporary development in the maritime industry, the efforts of stakeholders, the efforts of the management in the arrangement it did when the concessioning was done. And the idea was to decongest the port, increase operational efficiency, improvement on contribution of industry to national economy, and development of dry ports. Today, we have many inland ports. And with the massive, this government especially, the massive investment, the investment on infrastructure, Tinkan Island up to Mile 2, the road is under construction. Mile 2 up to Wuru, to the exit of Lagos has been done, concrete block. You have the rail system. You have the water from the MD of NIWA system being put into place. And just last night, 11 billion contract, US dollar contract, was signed by the government to link all the cities. We call it the coastal rail line. This is massive infrastructure that to evacuate goods from our port. Section 4 looks at the port system, how it is run, the activities of MPA as landlord, you know, as the umbrella body, managing vis-a-vis their mandate, the mandate of MPA in the Port Act. Then the role of MPA and the terminal operators, and the role of the Ministry of Transport as the overall ASO rock when it comes to maritime affairs. The roles of the major actors in port management and port concession system. We look at the reorganization of the 6 main ports, 2 in Lagos, Apapa and Tinkan, 2 in Rivers, Port Harcourt and Onne, 1 in Delta and 1 in Calabar, and with prayer, Badagry Deep Sea Port, Olokola Deep Sea Port, and then Akwa Ibom. There's another one. We shall have all these ports in place, plus the numerous inland water ports, as stated by the Section 5, which is, I'm going to read this during the executive summary. Challenges of port management in Nigeria vis-a-vis the global outlook. And then it itemizes, there is what we call a PESTEL. PESTEL is the factors: political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental. I think some other people, my colleagues, they have to say something in this area. Economic, Dr. Mogal will say something on that. Somebody will give paper on legal. The last speaker talked about social and political. Section 6, performance indices and the global ranking. Section 7, 5 and 7, very important, examines the strategy for sustainable development of the ports. We look at developed nations and we give recommendations on what to adopt. Finally, I've not finished, sir. I can see some people are eager to go. No, I've not finished. The executive summary, I will run over it in brief for you people to, sorry. Permit me to quickly share in my executive summary, I talk about the definition or the explanation of what is sheltered and what a seaport is. Actually, this is what we have gone through. But the function of a seaport, ensuring safety for seagoing vessels entering, operation in and leaving the seaport, providing facilities and equipment necessary for seagoing vessels to anchor, load and unload, and embark and disembark passengers, provide cargo transportation, loading and unloading, warehousing, and preservation service in the seaport, providing shelter, what we call port of refuge, repair, maintenance of necessary services to seagoing vessels and other crafts in emergency cases. And finally, providing other services to seagoing vessels, that is, to handle passengers and handle cargo. Port management models include private service model. The whole port is owned and operated entirely by the private sector. Public service model, in which the port is owned and operated entirely by host government or a government entity. And what we call a service port model, or labor, what we call tool port, is pure, too academic, please. It's owned by the host government or a government entity, but the port is either operated by government, what is this? Okay. Or the government contracts the private sector to operate all or part of the port. landlord model, which is the type of management model where the port, whether public or privately owned, leases the land within the precincts. This is what we suggest for the government, to give virgin land to private people, give them loan and support to develop their own port, not taking over existing MPA facilities. But we have done it, and I think we are better off. We are better off, you know, because government has no business in government. Then the private sector will invest their capital, but where do we get the capital? From the bank, and the bank will not finance it. The man who gave us something on Niger Dog, bank will not. Even the Shiona, my senior is here, Engineer Greg. It's difficult, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle than to get any money of the bank or government in this country, especially when it comes to shipping. So, sea conveyance by cheapest way of transportation, when considered in terms of, we all know this, that economy of scale, you carry more by sea, and that port play a key role in international trade, creates jobs, generate wealth and value, contribute to national growth. Singapore is an example. Singapore port. And today we even go there to learn about port operations and shipping. You know? So if we develop our ports, we are creating wealth. As a sea-land interface and point of convergence between various models of transport, port acts as a gateway to trade, providing access to global markets for all countries. You want an efficient port where you have quick turnaround. But when you discharge the cargo and you cannot evacuate it, then it's a big problem. You have what we call bunching. Ships stay at